Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. How's everybody doing today? Thank you so much for the follow. This reminds me that I have some things I need to turn off. 1 second while I turn them off. I remembered something right now. It's always every morning that I'm like, right, there's certain redeems that we don't want running during the morning because they're so loud and aggressive, even though they are a little fun. I hope everybody is slept all right. How are you sleeping? And Gibbets, I saw that you're trying to figure out how to quit your job. Have you tried going, "Hi, I'm Gibbets and y'all suck," and then punching them in the face? How do you feel about that one? I think it might work out for you. All right. So you can go in and go. You'll smell. Then you throw everything down. You punch him in the face, and then you go womp womp, loser, and then you leave and you succeed at everything you've ever wanted to do ever. True facts. It's that easy. It works every single time. No, vividly. Go close your eyes and go to sleep. Okay, next. What if instead you say, thank you for the headpads, by the way. You go, womp womp. And you say nothing else, but you just keep repeating the words womp womp until they realize you're quitting. I'm so glad you reminded me about my laundry, because I have wash that needs to dry, or else I won't have any clothes to wear today. I'm so good at maintaining myself, chat. You don't even know. Good morning, Sagona. Womp womp. Positive. Perfect. I think we're gonna break Twitch because y'all are at 15 stream streak. And that's all like, how do they have 15 stream streak? It's only been like 7 days, and that's why. I know, it's magic. Yeah, because Karmia hacks. Karmia comes in just to get their stream streak up, because they're so mean. They don't want to watch me. They just want the stream streak. I'm just kidding. I know you're not mean. I know you're like hanging out here. Of course. I don't believe you, Moist, but maybe. Enjoy brushing your teeth. Alright, where is the start of the line today? 9 hours ago, 9 hours ago, 9 hours ago, 8, 7, 6, 5, 5. There. Carmia, thank you for getting first. Cheshire, thank you for getting third. And Gibbets, thank you for getting second. Say hello to everybody who's checked in today. Good morning, Olivia. Good morning, Lachlan. Good morning, Vividly and Jay. And good morning, Gibbets and Brooke and Kakashi. Good morning, Zakona and Echo and Pan. Good morning, Kalia and Onyx and Dwarf. Good morning, Sinful Microwave. I keep forgetting you follow me on YouTube, and so when I see it pop up on YouTube, I'm like, oh. Good morning, Moist and Lynx and Anna. Good morning, Pinky. Karmia. A poetry request has been made. Did you have any specific poetry, or did you just want any poetry? I should start reading the book I recently got. I slept pretty well, surprisingly. My sister decided to call me at 9:30 last night, so I went to sleep a little late. But she's in Japan, and we're planning a stream, actually. So the idea for the stream is, since she is in Japan, she's going to, I'm not sure if I'm going to make this a video or not. She's going to go to a more touristy spot, and she's going to live stream it for us, or live stream it on Discord for me. And then I get to take y'all on tours of parts of Japan. While she introduces us to it. Yeah, sure. I'm Robert Frost. Are you ready? Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening by Robert Frost. My sister's doing alright. I mean, she's running into that situation right now that everyone in Japan does when you're a foreigner trying to get a new apartment, but you need a guarantor. So, you first pay a deposit for the apartment, your 1 month on top of your normal one. Then you have to pay a fee to the apartment owner, which is considered a gift, which is another month. Then you have to pay a fee to the guarantor, which guarantees your loan, or your rent, which is another month. So you end up paying for about 4 to 5 months on top of your normal rent. And only one of those months do you get back. It's insane. Alright. Stopping by Woods on a snowy evening. Whose woods these are, I think I know. His house in the village, though. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. My little horse must think it queer to stop without a farmhouse near, between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. He gives his harness bells a shake, to ask if there is some mistake. The only other sounds the sweep of an easy wind and downy flake. The winds are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. It's a nice one. Let's do another one. Let's see what the poem of the day is. Morning Song by Sylvia Plath. Love set you going like a fat gold watch. The midwife slapped your foot soles, and your bald cry took its place among the elements. Our voices echo, magnifying your arrival, new statue. In a drafty museum, your nakedness shadow our safety. We stand round blankly at its walls. I'm no more your mother than the cloud that distills a mirror to reflect its own slough. A faceman at the window's hand, the wind's hand. All night your moth breath flickers through among the flat pink roses. I wake to listen. A farcy moves in my ear. One cry and I stumble from bed, cow heavy and floral, in my Victorian nightgown. Your mouth open and clean as cat's. The window square whitens and swallows its dull stars. And now you try. Your handful of notes, the clear vowels rise like balloons. Cute. I like that one. Good morning, Chelsea. How are you doing? Good morning, Angel Fix. I'm still so impressed by my soda machine. I've made my own energy drink and it's great. Oh, 1 second here. Need to do a little adjustment. Now it's a fruit punch. I had the fruit punch G-subs. My soda machine? Yeah. I mean, all it is a container of CO2 with a button on it that activates the CO2. And so you just put CO2 into your soda. So, And the energy drink is just from the energy powder. And so yeah, I made a fruit punch energy drink. And the way it works is it's a like hard container so that it can take the pressure of CO2. But it also has a vent at the top, so if the pressure gets too much, it just immediately vents it slowly. And as long as you don't grab it from the soda stream and pull it off too quickly, it won't explode everywhere. I have had times where I'm running late for stream and I pull it off too quickly, and it just immediately pours all of the soda all over the cabinet. That is on me, honestly. No, not explode, not explode. I mean, okay, hear me out. What I mean is, I hit the button, it pressurizes. I'm like, oh shoot, I need to go stream crap, and I pull it off, and then like all of the soda spills out the top because it has just been pressurized, and so it reacts. It's not that bad, it's just, Yeah, okay. I keep having an idea of something I want to do for morning stream, a more chill game, but I don't feel like I have anything right now. But I know there was something I wanted to play. Exactly. Very much like that. More of like, you pour, like if you've ever... Don't ask me why you might have done this, but I have. More like when you put we put sugar into soda, and the sugar causes an effect that makes all of the bubbles explode out the top. I've definitely done that before. Oh, what games did you buy? Sounds like fun. I know what I was gonna play. Oh, that sounds fun. What is going on here? What is going on here? Nice. Alright, there it is. We're gonna do crime scene cleaner this morning. Like the Mentos thing, exactly. Oh, that does sound cute. No, but I'm not gonna start it yet because the glitchy can is back and I need to fix this. Morning, Silverfang. try to fix this can. Got it. Okay. I didn't get it. One sec. Come on, you stupid can. Where are you? Come on. I give up. Okay. Alright, where was stream? Let's get the game coming over. Oh, let me get back in the audios. There we go. There was. Oh. Yes, you may. You ready? Da da da. And we're gonna just set the audio low here. There we go. Da da da. Alright, here we go. I'm sorry, Chad. I was a bit distracted here. But I think this game will be chill enough, right? This game will be chill enough for all of us. Two for the price of one. I mean, I feel like I didn't do right the first time. Oh, I guess I need to get that mission. Cleaning is chill. I know, right? Cleaning is so chill. And sometimes I just don't want to play Minecraft. Alright. Hard to believe, I know. Oh, I think he's cleaned up his basement a little bit, which is nice. Because now that can is gone. Finally. We progressed a little bit further, and now he's making sure the can is gone. So we ain't gonna have that endless echo that's been there the entire time. Thank you for the check-ins, by the way. I really appreciate it. It's too early to mount. I mean, Silver Fang, it's never too early to mount. Can't have escape to the void. You right, you right. Oh, sorry. Thank you for pointing it out. I said I was gonna look around this place first. I'm also eating a little breakfast. I'm not gonna tell you what my breakfast is. Y'all ain't allowed to know what my breakfast is. Y'all might judge me too much. Ah, alright, alright. No, it's worse. No, no. Alright, can't judge me too hard. Okay, alright. No, I wish it was a bagel. Bagels are nice. I might be eating a can of raviolis. Yeah. Yeah. That's what I'm doing. I mean, straight out the can? Yep, straight out the can. Chef Boyardee. It don't make me happy, but it's food. Sometimes all you want is food. You know? That's what my focus is right now, it's just getting food. I hope so, Nerdy. Go back to sleep. Alright, I think we're doing alright. Oh, the game's just really, really quiet. Yeah, I'll turn it up a little bit. I don't want it to be too loud. I think I am going to turn off the voice. Just because that one is going to be a bit more. There we go. Oh, I haven't even done any cleaning yet. Kinda. That good for y'all? Was that too loud now? Yeah. See, I don't know if any of these sounds any good, if anybody wants any of these songs. I was willing to just allow my voice to be here, but... Alright. Let's start going around and making sure we got everything we need. Bodies have been removed. Alright. We'll put a bucket up here. Maybe start from the top and work our way down. There it is. anything we're missing evidence-wise? Ooh, some drugs for us to take. Ain't that nice? I'll take the gun. And let's see what else we need. I do think it's funny that when I turn off the noise of the talking, there's still the echo of the talking. And so that's what we hear in the background. Oh, the rain. Should I put some rain noises on? You know what? Let's put some rain noises on. That sounds delightful. Yeah, sure thing, sweetie. How's that? This a little bit better for you? We got a car going through rain. We got me cleaning up here. I think I want to turn down this audio just a little, just a tab. Let's see. Alright. Nice, now I can get back to getting the bodies. Alright. Where were we? Body number 1. Body number 2. Now we're gonna work our way trying to get all the trash out. And working a little bit of a system here. I think it might be nicer to start upstairs, actually. I love candy corn. I really like the way candy corn compresses. Which might be an odd thing to say, but I do like the way it compresses. The way it feels, I like the texture. Oh, come here, maybe I'll send you some candy corn. That's an idea. What if I made y'all like a little candy basket? So y'all could try some of the stuff that I like to eat. Maybe make a little like fan box and send that across the waters. Custom made boxes. You know it used to be intended as chicken feed. Well, I mean, it is a candy. If it weren't sweet, I feel like there'd be something wrong. You're not weird, not at all. It's a fun, comfortable voice to be in, the southern one. No, looks like we missed a body. It's just sweet. That's fine. Yeah, you're right. I mean, it is more of just like a caramel. And all caramel is is sugar. This feels strange here. I knew it. What about something like a candy corn cookie? How do you think that would taste? It may mount. Not necessarily a bad thing. Anyways, where were we with these trash? Any more trash we're missing? Yep. Quite a lot. Candy corn M&Ms. Do you know what I really enjoyed? I like the M&Ms that have pretzels in them. Those are delicious. But I just really like pretzels. Something about the crunchy ones with the salt. You're right, you're right. Crispy M&Ms? What do you mean crispy? What's inside of them? They also have Nutella M&Ms. Those ones are really good. A little more trash here. I think we're almost done with all the trash. Hey, good morning, Jinxie. Welcome, lovely raiders. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Nutella. It's very tasty. Good morning. Can't really do the throwing y'all in the jail cell this morning, but can we get a shout out for the lovely Jinxie? Just know that if it were a louder part of the day, I'd be throwing you into a jail cell immediately. This morning you just get cuddles and hellos and good mornings. Good morning, Bee. Alright, I think that takes care of all the trash. Your goobers are even. Oh, sweeties. It's good to see you, and it's good to see the goobers as well. Okay. Next, I think we're going to start with cleaning up the blood. I ideally would like to put the furniture back in place, but unfortunately this game doesn't like moving furniture before it's been cleaned. So I'll have to wait for that. But how was stream? What were you doing? Were you also doing ASMR this morning? Oh, very nice, very nice. Sounds lovely. Alright, we'll start in this room here. There's my light. Put it over here in the corner to make sure we aren't missing anything. Then I'll put down another light. and apparently just knock it over. There we go. Flawless. It does look cozy, doesn't it? Oh, why don't you do ASMR? It's a lot of fun. Not to hold, not to be like, hey, you should do this. But like, it's just something I enjoy doing. You're loud by default. Very understandable. We're gonna put some cleaning solution in this. I think we can start on the edges here. Start with the mop, work our way into the bathtub. There we go. Very valid. I don't use a binaural mic. I just use a standard mic. I do have one, but you don't need it. Unless you really, really want to use one. I like this because I can crop out all the extra background noises that I normally have. Hi, my name is Michael with a B, and I'm afraid of insects. Where's the bee? There's a bee. Man, these people be bleeding too much. Yes, actually, that is what's happening in this game. I love this. It's just so cool. Such a cool game. Alright. I'm gonna have to move chat real quick. 1 second while I make this little adjustment here. Because unfortunately, you're blocking all my objectives. I'll need to adjust this one of these days. There we go. That should be my only objective. Alright. Bathroom looks clean. I think there's nothing we're missing in here. Can you imagine living in a place like this, by the way? I mean, look how sterile this is. You have this little, like, sitting space. You have another sitting space and a computer. Like, not even a computer. There is nothing to do in this apartment. Except just be here with other people and maybe drink. You eat meals here. You cook, you eat meals. You come here, maybe you watch TV. You sleep. And you sit and maybe bathe. There's nothing here to make this like an enjoyable life. It just is. I can't imagine wanting to live a life like this. It's a nice looking apartment, but it's so. Yeah, like. I feel like I need to fill the space, but maybe that's the difference between me and rich people. One of the many differences. Mm-hmm. It's a showroom apartment. Yeah. Imagine living in a showroom. Good night, Onyx. Enjoy your eeps. See you tonight. Ooh, is that a threat? I'm kidding. My. Let's do the next part. I think we want to go with some more high-powered stuff this time. Hmm. That would be nice. Alright, I think we're gonna start from the walls and work our way down. Probably the best. Oh, I'm trying difficult getting that one spot there. There we go. Nah, not everybody's like me, keeping people in the basement. I don't know, can you believe this man is so short? What is that, the manlet cleaning adventures? So, Kona, we have talked about this a few times. The access to the Discord will be changing soon. Please be patient. We will be using Discord validation. Discord may still require you to use images, but it is an 18+ server, and there's nothing we can do depending on what Discord itself requires. But it will not be done through a third party. But yes, the current thing that we use is a third-party service, so we do not ever see any of those images. It's fine. They might. I can't believe I'm cleaning this with a mop. This feels like a sin. Really? That's amazing, Godwin. I'm glad you've been here for so long. Well, I hope for many more months. Right. I wonder where this went. Please stop rotating. Hi, Lily. this part is clean. Let's continue. I think it's time for... I think we should be alright. I see you have, dwarf. You've been here for a while. Wow, is it because you hated being here and that's why? Feels like it's taken so much longer. So much time off your life. Oh no, the WOD water is orange because I'm using an orange cleaner right now. It increases the strength of the cleaner. It will turn red though. Gibbets has always been here. I started streaming and Gibbets was just there at the very beginning. My first stream came in and Gibbets was already there being like, I've been waiting for you. Well, that's alright. Just letting you know. Used a cleaner. Alright. You're definitely not dumb. No, man, none of you are. Even if I make fun of you, none of you are dumb. Y'all are cute and smart. The only one who's allowed to be dumb here is me. Sorry. Stop trying to steal my brand. What a pretty picture. I really do like this kind of art style. Traditional Japanese art. Surprised the bed went untouched. Oh, that's nice though. What do you need to do, Silverback? I knew there was going to be something I didn't see. There we go. Thank you for the stream. Thank you for the bits. Greatly appreciate it. Good morning, little Nia. How you doing? Welcome. Alright, I think we'll clean. Is this space good? That looks good. Probably work our way down the rest of the stairs. We'll use a sponge here to make sure we don't make too much of a mess. Gentle cleaning, so I don't break any of those things. I'll set you aside. Stop spinning, please. Would you you like to be normal for a second? Come on. Why are you increasing your spin? Behave yourself. What's... Okay, 1 second. And there it goes. Like it was made to spin. Now where were we? Yeah, this whole place looks expensive. Yeah, I'm doing great. I'm having a relaxed day today. Not looking forward to having to go to work, but it's fine. Good morning, Luke, raccoon enthusiast. Good morning. Hope you're doing well. How's whose tummy feeling? Mine. There we are. Is that right, Sakana? Oh, I'd love miso, actually. If you have a miso, you can make a lovely little miso broth and make yourself a nice little ramen. I like buying cheap ramen and then making my own broth for it. You know, making it all fancy. Throwing my own veggies in there. Been a little bit since I've done it. Why don't I do it? I think I have miso in the fridge, actually. Miso paste. Good morning, Yoshihiko. Morning, morning. Thank you for the hydrate, Domingo. It's true. It's true. I forget about some of the things in there. I probably need to clean it out. Is there something going on with spicy ramen? Because I've had so many requests for spicy ramen. Is spicy ramen just the thing to want to eat these days? It's not just ramen, because it's always just spicy ramen. Even for people who don't like spicy food, they're like, yeah, give me spicy ramen. I'm like, really? I'm gonna put these in the corner until we can figure out where they go. Put this bottle to the side. Put it on this chair for now so it doesn't break. There we go. Alright, that should make things a little bit nicer and easier to deal with. Any trash are missing. See if we can find any evidence here. Man eats a lot of the same cereal. think the person who made this apartment has never seen a rich person's apartment before. Because they are not like ours. The trash would not be in a place like this. I get that reference. Trust me, the food in rich people's places is insane the way they do it. Alright, let's move forward. And some of it's like the worst food you've ever seen, but served up in such a way that it looks fancy. Because as many things with being extraordinarily wealthy is, it's more about the appearance than it is actually the quality. The one billionaire I worked for would have stuff bought from like Temu and Fiverr all the time. Well, not Fiverr, but all like the cheap platforms. Billionaire, mind you. And they just like wanted everything instantly all the time. They couldn't understand why they couldn't have a custom Steinway piano within a week. A Steinway, the most expensive, greatest pianos. If you ever wonder who keeps scalpers in business, especially for tickets, it's them. Because they would ask for tickets to places. That's not what I wanted to do. They'd ask for tickets to places in like the highest things, and they'd want all the seats to be together. And so there was a team of people who would just find tickets for them, for concerts. The thing is, they don't want to save money. They don't understand how the money works, actually. They don't understand how much the money they have is. They just literally want whatever they want. They buy the cheapest things or they buy the most expensive things. They don't understand that why would this one be low quality? Because they can't imagine somebody ever not giving you the best thing that they possibly could. Because nothing ever turns out badly for them. Exactly. Oh, well, I mean, once you get to that wealth level, you're not human. You don't see other people as people. They just sort of also exist in the same space as you. To the point that a woman almost died during childbirth. And the owner's response was, "You're lucky I gave you off the amount of months I did give you. If I had realized that government regulations said I could give you less, I would have given you less." After a woman almost died in childbirth. There's a reason why I don't work for that company anymore. Because they don't see people that aren't the same as them as people. Heck, they almost don't see the people that are at their level as people. Thank you for the follow, Nia. It is sad. So when I say eat the rich, eat the rich. You don't reach billions of dollars without hurting and killing people. And I mean that. People have to have died to reach $1 billion. And they did. Exactly. Good morning, Hair. That's a good question. I also am wondering how I'm successfully mopping a rug. Exactly. My brain saw the horse statue as a person, and for a second I was like, there's a person standing next to me, and my heart stopped. Don't get me wrong, there are some people out there who are wealthy and kind and view others as human beings, but there is definitely a thing of once you reach that point, it changes every perception that you have of everything. This week is gonna, you know what? Here's what we're gonna do. Chat, this week is going to be a good week. This week is going to be an amazing week. You're going to do so very well. Now take the time to appreciate yourself and all the things that you have. And even during the struggles, you're going to try your best to handle them. We're going to survive this week. And not only survive, we're going to excel this week. It is the start of a new week. We can make it however we want it to be. And I believe in you. Good morning, Poggy. Thank you for the follow. And welcome to the menagerie. Gar of Dryling. Yoshiko. Really? So what platform did you come from? Too early to cry? No. Crying is not a bad thing. Crying can feel good. It's therapeutic. I'm not saying I want you to cry, but you know. Thank you for the follow, Luke. Welcome to the menagerie. Yes, I will gift a sub to the community, or I'll gift a sub to the person if they don't have a sub. Thank you for the follow, Kakiko. Welcome. It can be exhausting. Sometimes it's needed. You did, Jinxie. You rated in. Rating has a higher chance of winning. I think rating and gifting subs has a higher chance of winning. You feel like all you do is cry lately. Well, then you have a lot of big emotions to let out. Make sure, though, that you sit with those feelings sometimes. Process them, feel them. I feel that. I feel that. It's good to feel your feelings. I'm sorry you don't feel like you have the space to do so. Alright, let's walk around a little bit, see if we're missing anything. Looking good. Looking good. Looking good. Nice. Spiders in here. Alright. Lovely. Oh, I completely missed this cabinet. Anything worthwhile in here? Nothing so far. This wouldn't work. Now, Chad, I want to see how many of you have worked in an office before. Can you tell me why I would not be able to open this cabinet like this normally? Thank you for the follow. Greatly appreciated. Welcome to the menagerie. Yeah, there you go, Carmia. Exactly. They usually lock. One of them will instantly lock the rest of them when you try to open it. Because of, yeah. Because they don't want you to be able to knock them over. The funny part is I once worked in a place with IT, and we were doing a full computer replacement of everything. And they, instead of, putting the computers somewhere reasonable, they stacked them on top of the filing cabinet. So many that eventually it caused the filing cabinet to dent inwards. And it made it so that the drawers could no longer be opened because the locking mechanism somehow got damaged. It was always seen as open on the top one, so he could not get into the rest of the filing cabinet without prying it open. It was just really, really goofy. I slacked off in that job so much. I do better at my current one. Washing electronics, yay. Good morning to Chick Rise. Hello, Chicky. How you doing? Enjoy your dosing. Morning, Vanya. I do not play Minecraft all day. I leave Minecraft running all day. Happy late birthday, by the way. How was your birthday, Chicky? Yoshihiko, thank you so much for the follow. It's greatly appreciated. How are you doing today, Vanya? Good morning, good morning. You got totally spoiled. No. As you should be. Everyone should get spoiled a little bit for their birthday. My last birthday wasn't the greatest, but I'm hoping this year we could have a lot of a nicer birthday. Y'all celebrate it with me, right? I'm glad. Good. February 17th. That'll be fun. Oh, you didn't, but I mean, there was other reasons why my birthday wasn't that good. Gene Day Part 2. Honey, being in a 4-year relationship that ended right around my birthday kind of made the holiday not the greatest. Not holiday, but you know, the experience not the greatest. Thank you for the follow, Kitty. It was more of a thing of like, yeah. I mean, the thing was more of a, not even that part. I don't usually plan things for my birthday, and that was the one year I actually had planned. And I mean, plans went out the window with the relationships, which happens. Thank you for the follow, Vitamin. But we don't need to be depressing this morning. That's just something I was thinking about. No depressing, only de-stressing. Don't be depresso, have an espresso. Chad, did you take your vitamins? Chad, do you? Oh, that's not good. Let's make sure the bottle doesn't fall. We're gonna put this in the. Yeah. There we go. Yeah, if you take vitamins, please take your vitamins. If you take meds, please take your meds. I'll be taking my meds soon, so you don't have to worry about me. Thank you, Vitamin. I'm glad I can be cute. I feel like I missed something. You said a stream event? What is a stream event, Chicky? Well, please take your meds. One of the chairs do got a print on it. You're very right about that. There we go. Morning, Lane. Take your meds. All of you need to take your meds. Oh yes, definitely. I think that's exactly what I want to do, is I want to do a little birthday event with my viewers. It'll be a lot of fun. Alright, we're missing a piece of furniture somewhere. I'm assuming it's this lamp here. Need to figure out where it went. There's where it goes. Ground floor location cleaned. Let's check the top floor. Alright. Alright. Unfortunately, I cannot make the bed. I wish I could. Make me feel better. Which is funny, because I don't make my own bed. Do you make your own bed, Chad? My lovely little voidlings. Thank you for the check-in, Eli. It is good to make your bed. It genuinely helps your mental a lot. You start your day with a quick win. Mm-hmm. Oh, money. Money laundering. Oh, lame. Alright. Hans. Hans is horse. I'm also a, thank you for the follow element. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Nice. Mambo, mambo, mambo. I'll do it. You know, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna make my bed every day for a week. Maybe I'll feel a little better. That'd be nice. Alright, let's see what we can do here. I think I want to make the sponge strong. And the mop, I want to make it stay less dirty so I have time to clean things. Oh, cleaning speed of both would be nice. see. What do I want? Increase the bucket a little bit, that'd be nice. Two buckets. Nice. What else can we do? I think increasing duration would be nice. Hiding valuable items would also be nice. I'd love an axe. I only now realize that apparently I've been leaving bloody footprints around places. Stepladder. Wait a second. Wait a second. I got so confused. What are you doing, stepladder? There we go. Now, we're ready for the next day. Hey, good morning, Oshi. Thank you for checking in. You don't watch me, Vanya? Why don't you watch me? Wow, that's sad. Hello, dog. No. I cry. 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 I can't get no satisfaction. I can't get me no. Girly. Actually, do you know what's funny? I have a VTuber friend-ish person named Pubby. And I didn't realize that the reason why they did their name Pubby or Pubbia was because that's how some people say puppy. Well, I'm glad. Glad you enjoy the face card. I hope my new model will be just as enjoyable for people when I get it. Don't stare at people, how dare you? I am going with a custom. Because that way there's certain things that I currently can't do. You know the, oh, what's it called? There's this thing people do. Cameo. There is a VTuber cameo. Well, that's awful. But I can't do it until I own my model. Because since I don't have the full rights to this model, it means I can't do it. No, this ain't weird at all. was using it for years. He's small. Interesting, interesting. What you squashing, Vanya? So goofy. So I want to make this into a horror game. Where's my axe? Oh. More.
Refreshing the air. Cleaning procedures. Initialization. Refreshing the air.
There we go. Honestly, this feels like the scariest thing so far. What is this?
Greetings.
There we go. Let's let it do its thing. Well, dang, that thing's got a range. Everything's looking fine in here. Oh, they made a cross. Isn't that lovely? Glad they're religious people. And a pent. Oh, hey, look. Bad Roomba. She was obsessed with that cat. Yes, let's see if they have things I can take. Oh, money. Oh, she was straight up obsessed with that cat. That's interesting. Another day drifts away. I'm yours, you're mine. I'm yours, you're mine. It's alright. Why'd they put these scary speakers everywhere? Ghost cat? Ghost cat. Ghost cat. Cat's definitely something. Imagine this suddenly becomes a horror game. That'd be interesting. I feel a bit sad. Harry the Potter and the Goblet of Clay. I'd feel bad if this game suddenly became horror. Because I've been like, here's a chill game. You love red and black? I also love red and black. Could chill horror be a thing? Maybe.
Hey there.
Hello there.
Hi.
What are you? I'm Sheen. What are you?
Let's make it cozy again.
Homie Cypher? Oh. Homie Cypher's too big brain for me. Homie Cypher's much too big brain for me.
There is still some work to do.
Oh, it's Stealth Chill. Thank you so much for the follow, Penguin. Welcome, welcome, welcome. How you doing, Penguin Gang? Okay. Where's my light? How am I not finding my light? There it is. It's 8. That's what I'm looking for. Alright. Alright, I guess let's get started. Where's the water? There it is. Have fun, Gibbons. Be good. Have fun quitting. I believe in you. You are so very fearsome. You're right. I'm sorry for ever thinking you weren't fearsome. You got this. Punch in face, womp womp, and leave. You are so evil and fearsome. You're the most evil, you know? Just the most absolute evil. Resistance, strength, clean. Okay. First things first. Trash. You're purple? You are purple. It's very true. I'm glad you recognize your color.
Harmony of purification complete.
I think it's funny it's a Japanese child for the thing. Can I take this bag of trash out? Please, 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 please. Oh, man. Can I put their bag of trash in my bag of trash? Will make me feel better. Are you a guy? Me personally? Yes. I have redeems. Oh, sniffer. No, no, don't ask that. If people want to know, they'll say. Thank you for the redeems. I was more confused if I was being asked if I was a guy. I'm like, that's a random thing to say. Hello, Kokika. How you doing? Everyone. Because all of chat is stinky. It's true. You smell like roses? Why don't I believe you? Good morning, Rosetta Wolf. Thank you so much for the follow. Greatly appreciated, always. You smell like clean? I believe that. I believe Vanya does smell like clean. Where's my step ladder? Chat, I only have a step ladder. I never knew my real ladder.
Don't leave me alone.
All right. That's so sad. Can I, that's so sad, Alexa. Play Despacito.
Time. Let's make it cozy again.
It's true, my biological ladder doesn't deserve me. What's wrong with putting a stepladder on the bed? It'll work. Oh, fair. I didn't think about that. You're right. You're right. Name drop your perfume, chat. Chat, tell me what colognes and perfumes you use. And soaps. This is self-report. Is it stinky or us? Just kidding. You're not stinky. You smell good. I use the stink perfume. Oh, nice. Coconut. nice. You have too many perfumes? Vibes, vibes, absolute vibes. Ooh, wait a sec. What's this? I love robbing a dead old lady. No. Top favorite bad and pastimes? Exactly. True, true, true. We'll come back and get all the trash later. For now, we'll focus on cleaning these spaces.
クリーニングコンプリート
Thank you, thank you. Hi, Pinky. How you doing? Hi, Pink. Do you need to go to the... Is there something going on at the vet? What's up? I know, I love our cleaning child. Oh, I could go for cocoa. Maybe I'll make a coffee. I think I'd like a nice hot drink this morning. Do some self-care, you know? Oh, I intentionally misspelled honey in the notative. That's how I like to write honey. You miss coffee. Coffee misses you too. When I'm referring to a person, I like to call them honey. H-U-N-N-Y. Why? Spelling quirk, I guess. Washing surface. Okay, let's do... slow down the rate at which tools get stained. Let's do strength detergent. And... strength detergent. Should be the ultimate tool. There we go. Strength mop, let's go. Too much blood. So much blood. What the heck? Do you think they could have just had, maybe less blood in their body? I mean, why are they so rude with the amount of blood they got? So inconsiderate. Well, I mean, the rest wasn't too bad. I didn't have to do the thing that often. I guess because I had the better mix earlier. The shark from Shark Week. Alright, let's do the area detergent. Then we'll do the keep sponge clean detergent. I think it's my favorite combo right now. Can you get us up with the mop water? No, that will kill you. No death allowed, sorry. The ocean. Pee-pee in the ocean. You need to drink more water when the mop water looks good. Yeah. Pee-pee in the ocean. I do need to drink more mop water. I mean, I need to drink more water, not mop water. Well, gun. That's so funny to me. I see that stagnant pool of water that probably has diseases and infection in it. Mmm, tasty. Slurp, 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 slurp. Slurp, 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 slurp. You do need to drink more Nutella. Infection and disease, my favorite. No Vanya. Daddy chill. I'm gonna drink only mop water from now on. Can't stop me. Oh, heck the time. Okay, hello everybody. I need to go. I just realized what time it was. Might be. So yes. Ooh, okay, but why? Well, then, start paying for me to exist. Unfortunately, I need more money to exist. Existing is so expensive. Is there anyone good live right now? There's no good ASMR artist people live right now. Hoshi was here earlier, which means Hoshi isn't live. That's traditional ASMR, which is boring. There's another one. And that person just called me Sunpie, so I don't think I want to raid into them. I think it's shrimp time. I think it's shrimp time. I can't believe Hoshi's not live. That's crazy. Nah, Yoshi. Oh no, I have to go to work now, probably crying. Alright. Yeah, I wake up every morning at 3:30 a.m. before I go to work. So now I start work. Do you all not know my schedule? I wake up every day at 3:30 a.m. 3:30 to 5:30 I stream in my morning stream. And then 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. I do my second stream. Oh, I'm always tired. It's fine. I get enough sleep. Alright, we're gonna go raid shrimps. We're gonna say, the raid message will just be, hello, shrimpies. Alright, chat, go say hello to the shrimps. There's one shrimp on the screen right now. Oh, he left. There's no shrimp on the screen now. But y'all are great. I miss y'all so very much. I'll see y'all very, very soon. See you in the evening. Bye, everyone.